Hey folks, this is a hip-hop production lesson in keyboard essentials. We're going to be looking at some basic music theory and applying it into Soundtrap right away. So let's take a look. So there are only 12 notes in Western music, like hip-hop and pop, that are used to create harmony and melody. And the distance between any two notes is called an interval, right? The smallest interval is a half step or a semitone. And you can think of this, we're looking at an overhead view of a piano keyboard. You can think of this as the distance between one note to the next. So a white key to a black key, or two white keys without a black key in the middle, or while they're numbered here, any two consecutive numbers. So 1 to 2, it could be down, so 6 to 5. And so the semitone or half step is going to be the smallest structure that we use to start to build these larger chords in harmony. And we're going to look at that. So when two notes are played one after another, they create a melody, and melodies might be confined to a specific scale, which are most often a collection of 8 notes, but not always. And so the 8th note, the last note in the scale, is said to be an octave up from the first one. Well, what does that mean? It means that if I think back to my half steps and the 12 notes available to me, if I were to count up 12 steps, I'm going to get the same note that I started on, except it's going to be pitched exactly what's said to be an octave higher. Now you'll remember an interval is the distance between two notes. Well, those half steps are going to create different size intervals as I work my way up my scale. So I might have a second, a third, a fourth, etc., all stemming from one initial note. We're going to look at how to get different sizes of intervals. So when two or more notes are played at the same time, they create harmony, and both melody and harmony are crucial in creating different kinds of color and emotion in any given piece of music. So the most fundamental of these two emotions that might be created are the bright sound of a major third, or the more mellow sound of a minor third. And both can affect on any piece of music pretty substantially. So a major third is going to consist of 4 half steps. If I count from my initial note, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm going to get up to a major third, whereas a minor third is only 3 half steps away. So it's important to note that both of these are an interval of a third, but they're a different size third, and that's determined by the kind of scale or the kind of emotion I'm trying to create in my piece. By adding another note, you create a triad, a collection of 3 notes, also known as a chord. 2 consecutive thirds create the 2 most basic chords, said to have a major or a minor quality. So just like our intervals, our chords can also have a major or minor quality, and they're going to also give you that sort of emotion. A major chord is going to be built with a major third interval and then a minor third interval right after. So again, I'm going to count 4 half steps up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then for my minor third, I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. So now you're seeing that an interval doesn't just need to be the distance from its initial note. It can be the distance from any given note. I just need to count those half steps to figure out what that distance is. So the inverse is true of a minor chord. I can start with a minor third and then put a major third on it right afterward. So either way, you can start to see that the third in this major and minor chord is the most important note because it's what's going to give it its chord quality, whether it's major or minor. This is my version of Circles by Mac Miller. All right, so I've got intervals being used in different ways. Let's take a look. Here's the melody of this sort of synth warbly thing. Okay, so we're looking at the piano roll, and it's got the keyboard oriented in a different way. If I were to scroll over and line these up, I can see these shaded white tiles line up with the keys of my keyboard. Well, much in the same way I was able to count steps on the keyboard in the other examples, 1, 2, 3, 4, and line this one up with this shaded black line, I can directly count them on the piano roll. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be a major third. Whereas this one down here, I can count 1, 2, 3. Or if I line it up, this black key, 1, 2, 3. Okay? So I've got a melody line with intervals being used in a different way, but I also have a harmony line. If we take a look over here at this background key part, remember, 2 intervals sounding at the same time create harmony, and this is a chord structure where I can start to count intervals the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gives me a major third. Let's look at another example. This is P2 by Lil Uzi Vert. Okay, so I have a descending line here where I can see what the distance is. 1, 2, 3. So the distance between this last line of notes and this top line is a minor third. If I scroll over to where the other guitar comes in, all right, and I take a look here, I got 1, 2, 3. I got another minor third. So the tonality of this tune is in a minor key, but I'm creating a feeling of the key using intervals sounding one after another rather than at the same time, as in the Mac Miller chord example. So you have a couple different ways that you can use intervals in your own music, whether it's one note one after the other or at the same time in sort of a harmony context. But try these out in your own music. I'm going to be posting videos on how I created that circles. I'm going to finish off the Lil Uzi example and post that one as well. That's going to have some more tips and tricks and how you can use different kinds of melody and harmony and some other parts of the Soundtrap DAW to create your own music. If you haven't already, check out the other introductory videos where we take a look at creating your own rhythms in Soundtrap in a digital audio workstation and how to layer and sequence different drums to beef up your production.